My feeling, and there's been a debate again over the last couple days. Does Barry Bonds deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? And then they said, well, if Bonds gets to be in the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. My opinion is they both should be in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose, he was probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest hitters ever to play baseball.
I agree. We're gonna have a good debate about this one because when it comes to Barry Bonds, talent wise, I think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame 1,000%. That guy. He's been intentionally walked more times than some strikeouts. And on top of that, he's been the only player in MLB history to be intentionally walked to start off an inning.
Yeah, he's a monster.
The thing with Pete Rose, though, I actually talked to some former big league guys about this. I was like, so because of the whole Astros scandal and stuff like that, people are now saying they'd rather face guys in the steroid area. I still, because of this, I think McGuire, Sosa, and some of them should be in the Hall of Fame because of this. Because, the whole Astros sign stealing scandal, if you ask a pitcher right now, would you rather throw to a guy on steroids or would you rather throw to a guy that knows what's coming? 10 out of 10 times they're going to say, I'd rather throw to a guy that's on steroids and who's not expecting pitches to happen. But when it comes to the Pete Rose situation, since 1970s or so, MLB, they've been meeting every year saying you can't give insider information and you cannot bet on games. Which, you can bet on your own games even though you're not playing, but still, it's not a good look for the league. And he still went about that rule the wrong way and just I'm a manager, whatever. Even though I can't affect it, but it's but you're telling me okay, Pete has us winning by how many? He's going to try to run up the score or try to keep it in between. We don't know what his bets were, but at the same time, it's if he has a chance to fix that, then fix his stat line or scores or whatever, so he can make some money. That's kind of not. That's somewhat tarnishing the game.
Well, here's my thing. Two things. One, for Pete Rose, I'm not looking at him as a manager. I'm looking at him as a player. He was a switch hitter, and he was batting 300 on both sides. I forget his stat.
I didn't even know he was a switch hitter.
He was a switch hitter, and he hit better on one side, but he was he's a switch. He just was that good, and he was. I said one of the most dominant, not dominant, but best hitters I've seen. What he did as a coach, fine, I can see that. Yeah. But to say that as the player, Pete Rose, a player, he can't be in the Hall of Fame is ludicrous. When we nominate, is Terry Francona? I say it just as an example. Is Terry Francona going to be inducted as a coach or a player? If he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. As a coach, right? It's not going to look at anything he did when he was playing, probably.
I mean, Terry Francona coached the greatest basketball player of all time in baseball, Michael Jordan.
That's true.
Did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He was the minor league
coach. That's a riot. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until the Last Dance thing.
A lot of people said, Terry Francona says, if Jordan stuck out baseball for another year or two, he would have thought Jordan would have made the show because he had that work ethic and he kind of had.
He wasn't that bad either.
No, he wasn't. Once he started to figure it out, he was really good.
Because he took 10 years off. Anyways, that's a whole other discussion. He took 10 years off before he played baseball again, and he hit 2-something in AAA. That's astonishing.
I got another rant for you another time about the Mets, though, how they handle their front office, but that's another. But when it comes to Tim Tebow and stuff like that, one of their second rounders got released, and he went off saying how the Mets are trying to bring in more money. They were probably going to hire Tim. They were probably going to call up Tim Tebow to bring in a shit ton of money.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
But it's a lose-lose when you face a guy like Tebow because you're supposed to get him out. So if you get him out, you only got Tebow out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it's if you let up a hit, it's wow, you let up a hit to a guy that hasn't been playing pro ball or didn't even play college ball.
Right. But, sorry, to get back to the Pete Rose thing, but I look at it as if you want to tarnish his coaching career, which, I don't know much about, fine. Everything I know about Pete Rose is him being one of the greatest hitters I've ever seen. And he deserves to be in on that. Yeah, but do you guys agree with this, though, too? They call it the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's your contributions to baseball as a player, a coach, an owner. That's why you see some of these, the Basketball Hall of Fame, you see some of these coaches get inducted, or even women, or like Bill Walton's in the Hall of Fame because of what he did as a college basketball player, not because of what he was really doing in the NBA. Because if you look at his NBA career, it's not as impressive as some of these other guys. Yeah. Where people are saying, Derrick Rose should be in the NBA Hall of Fame because how good and his resurgence, whatever. And it's your overall contributions to the game. And that's where, for an example, A-Rod, I think A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame. A-Rod was a very talented player. And he, as a player towards the end, he kind of gave up that diva, no one really liked him, the villain stuff. But when A-Rod became an analyst and just getting to know guys, he was a very personable person. Honestly, I was a big time Derek Jeter fan beforehand,
But I like A-Rod, but like I like Jeter more. I'm now more of a fan of A-Rod than I am a Jeter with how he's going about like running a Marlins organization. Like that's the thing. It's like it's their overall contribution to the game.
See I'm completely opposite of that. Yeah. Like that's why I don't like this 10-year rule where you can get in on 10 years. If you don't make it 1 year, you don't make it you can make it this year. I'm totally against that. Yeah. I get it why it's in place because like Curt Schilling was one of the most dominant pitchers I've ever seen in my life.
But his personality is supposed to keep him out of the...
Right, and his political views and his personality post-baseball career is what keeps him out. If you, the day he retired and you said, is Curt Schilling a Hall of Famer, I guarantee 9 out of 10 baseball people would say he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
He has World Series, he has the stats.
One of the most clutch postseason players of all time.
He played, like, the story of playing on a basically bad ankle, a bum ankle, and pitching a gem, dominant. But now he's going into like the later stages of like he may not make the Hall of Fame. It is insulting. And same thing with Bonds.
Clemens
was the most dominant. One of the most dominant.
Clemens was a 7-time Cy Young Award winner. Like for the whole decade, he was utterly dominant. So when you had a Clemens versus Bonds matchup, everybody stopped what they were doing.
Our roided up guy versus your roided up guy.
Exactly. And the thing is too, like baseball's the one sport too where like you can go walk around the stadium, get drunk, and really not pay attention, and like still enjoy being there, and like not miss much action.
Yes, sir.
But like here's the crazy part: the moment you saw a guy like Bonds or Clemens like throw the ball, you stopped what you were doing just to watch exactly what was going on.
Right.
And like that's the impact those guys had so much.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
same thing when Pete Rose played, and that's why I think people would go to watch Pete Rose play. Yeah. He was just so dominant.
Well, that Reds team overall was just very talented. They were very good.
But my point being is, it shouldn't matter what you do post you retire. When I look at the Hall of Fame, I look at your career, maybe what you did during your, like if Pete Rose did the cheating during his career, I could be like, all right, he cheated.
Like shoeless Joe Jackson.
Right, exactly. But
do you think he should be in the Hall of Fame? Because he was somewhat of a good player.
I don't know much about it. I can't give an opinion about it. I have to look more into it. But how I judge it, and I think also the Hall of Fame is very watered down by now, like especially in other sports. The baseball is kind of keeping it tight, but in NBA, like you said, like Derrick Rose is a great player. I personally don't think he's a Hall of Fame.
No.
So he won 1 MVP and got injured. That I feel bad because I think he could have been a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not what if. It's is this guy worthy of it? And I think it shouldn't change 10 years after. It's like either you're a Hall of Famer or not. We do the fame or lame.
Yep.
Do we think he's a Hall of Famer or not? It's not like if you have to be like, well, then he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And this is something we talked about before. I know I mentioned this before. What are your metrics that you're using to decide who gets into Hall of Fame? And I know sometimes it's going to be a gray area. I'm aware. But like, what is your standard? What's the bar? What do you have to be better than to be even considered for it? You know, because that's where it becomes very arbitrary.
Like, I think it's the impact on the situation that they're put in. Like some of these guys, like even LeBron says it back when the Heat played the Celtics at the Garden, that Game 6 where you saw the yellow eyes from LeBron. He said he knew right then and there if he didn't win, it was going to severely impact his legacy. So he knew he had to get there and take care of business. Because there's always stepping stones. If like you want to get great, like you're expected to perform and just hold your own. And if you're the best, like you gotta like be the best and like not let anyone else beat you.
Right.
And that's where. Like Tiger Woods, like his impact that he had on the game, just like he'd walk up to the course and everybody would be so intimidated. Like that's just like just the mental game, like Jordan stuff, like where Jordan back in the day used to walk in the visitors' locker room and be like, oh, like what's good, like dap someone up real quick and walk out. Like everyone's concentration was just gone afterwards because everyone's like, wait, that's Michael Jordan.
But
like,
that's the point though, is that when you're that dominant, it makes sense to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you're not, then how can you justify people being in the Hall of Fame if they're not that level elite, that like top handful of people?
Yeah.
Like who was the last Hall of Fame class this past year? I forget.
Kobe, Duncan, LeBron.
No, sorry, baseball.
Not LeBron.
Baseball.
It was supposed to be Larry Walker and Jeter. That just got pushed back.
I think Curt Schilling deserves it way more than Larry Walker. I think that playing wise, I think Barry Bonds. I'm surprised he did. Like, I understand. I get it. But he should be in.
The impact with Larry Walker, though, is you got to realize as well, like, Yao Ming is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Think about that. you know why he's in the Hall of Fame is for his impact on the game, because for expanding it globally and bringing it to more popular in China. Like Larry Walker is a Canadian baseball player. He was the first real Canadian to bring generational talent into the game of baseball. That's where you got guys like Justin Morneau, not Joe Mauer, Morneau, Joey Votto, and like some of all these Canadian pitchers, like Roy Halladay. I know he's not Canadian, but just like him performing well as the Blue Jays, like brought that kind of like baseball popular in Canada.
I get that, but I'm saying I get that point, and that's why I can see him being in. But when you're saying a guy that took 10 years to be elected in, that's my point.
I mean, Jim Rice.
Well, same thing with Jim Rice.
It was 14 years.
But, I mean, I think unless it's special circumstances like a Roger Clemens, who people are just holding this vendetta against, or Barry Bonds, if you think about this person, are they a Hall of Fame or not? And that's my thing. I just thought it was embarrassing that Curt Schilling did not make I ranted on the podcast back then when we did it.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing, too. For like the Hall of Fame, like, okay, who's up for the ballot? It's like, yeah, I know Curt Schilling, but like sometimes out of all those players, which ones do you think are the best, or which ones do you think are like out of all those like deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? And that's where you see guys like on the later years, like they might not be as strong of a class of guys that are eligible, so that's why they get elected in later in time. Like I think Larry Walker is pretty good. I think Todd Helton should be in the Hall of Fame. Like that's just me.
Todd Helton did really well for the Rockies, but that's again like going with my point. Like, that's what I heard. Oh, Curt Schilling didn't make it in, but that's okay because he'll make it in next year because the class isn't as strong. How does that make sense?
Oh, it's all the media.
It's either you make it or you don't, though, at that point.
Right.
If you were that dominant in that level.
His baseball career has nothing to do with me and judging him on the class that he's with. I would say Derek Jeter's probably above him in the class, but doesn't mean you still have a plaque in Cooperstown. It doesn't matter.
Here's the crazy part about the whole Jeter thing. It's that like some media people like severely don't like a player that they can't get him in the Hall of Fame. Like there was literally one guy who purposely didn't want to vote for Jeter because he didn't like it. So he didn't want to have Jeter to hold that. Oh, he's the second unanimous. Like just because since
Babe Ruth just didn't have a unanimous.
Well, just because Ken Griffey didn't get it. That's why too. It's like Mariano.
Well, that was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, like by the way, MLB Network's dropping a Ken Griffey documentary on Sunday.
Oh, that should be good.
Ooh.
I can't wait for that.
They're dropping all these good documentaries.
Dude, The Last Dance. Oh.
That was really good. What are we doing? Are we doing good on time?
102, 103.
We're doing all right.
I could talk all day.
Yeah,
honestly.
we can push it to an hour and a half. We got a long pod.
We can push it to like 3 hours.
Whatever you guys want to do.
People's topic could talk about SpongeBob.
Yeah, exactly. We got a long pod ahead of us. I'm excited.
Just like I want to go around the room here and just get your opinion. We'll start with one. I think actually we may all be in agreement. Do we think Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bonds,
we love steroids.
Steroids guy, so
we're all
big
big
steroid
steroid guys.
I would just put a little asterisk next to it.
No.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
No,
wait a minute.
get
Shut
out
up.
of here.
Do you
Shut
want a
up.
participation trophy too?
Wow.
Shut up. The only thing I'm going to say with that, what I would have near the asterisk is, look, even though people think with the drugs or the steroids or whatever, for what he still did in his time, whether you agree or disagree, you still can't take away from his performance. So with the asterisk, I would say, even though some people might disagree that he, took steroids and did whatever, that you still can't take away from the accomplishments of it.
in my opinion, putting an asterisk takes away from his accomplishments.
How?
You're bringing up the fact that people are taking
It's
away.
making an outlier.
Just
Fair enough.
put it
You
up
do you.
there and be like, you made it.
That'd be a riot to see
that's like KD like getting a Finals MVP for the Warriors or the Finals like be like, oh, NBA champion, Golden State Warriors this shit, and then you just put an asterisk because it was easy. Like,
because it was easy.
Because he went to with 3 other superstars.
He literally went to the
The
best team in NBA history after the most historical season. Like
It would be funny to see the Hall of Fame list. There's a bunch of different asterisks.
There'd be a ton.
you get one, you get one, you get one.
Yeah, I just think you put him in. I think he should be in, but either put him in or don't. Like
I would say asterisk in the Hall of Fame when it's like, okay, like it's Barry Bonds, all-time home run leader. Asterisk that there, 756, because no one else has that.
Yeah.
Like Ty Cobb or Pete Rose, like highest batting average. Asterisk there, just to let it know that like that's their accomplishment.
Fine.
Like
Yeah.
Roger Clemens, asterisk 7-time Cy Young Award winner, like stuff like that.
That's fine. Yeah.
Like. Let them know why they're being asterished. Like their accomplishments were very good. Like some of these guys, like Albert Pujols, asterisk 3,000 career hits, like stuff like that.
I wouldn't put anything that's like asterisk.
Negative.
He did this because I won't put anything negative.
Yeah, you gotta make it positive.
Yeah.
the
like,
Hall
'cause-
of Fame, I just feel is like it's I don't view it as like when I go there, I'm not going to be like, this guy did steroids, this guy cheated.
Yeah, some people do like hashtag # like 3,000 hit club member, or like the little star, like not asterisk, but like something else, and it's like the little roof thing. It's like, first overall draft pick.
That's cool.
Like
Yeah.
there's only 3
like that
number 1
stuff.
overall draft picks in the Hall of Fame itself. It's Ken Griffey, Chipper Jones, and
Chipper Jones is fun to watch.
oh yeah,
He
it's
was-
not Harold Baines, Harrison Raines. I don't even like.
Oh.
It was an older guy.
So I think we all agree Bonds. What about Pete Rose? Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
You're a no?
I'm saying no.
See,
As a player, yes, but his overall impact on the game for like what he did, and like no, like the thing was like you blatantly knew like it's not frowned upon to take steroids like when a lot of guys were doing it, but like I think Pete Rose was literally the only person betting on games in the MLB at that point, because literally there was one other guy, an NFL player, that literally just got suspended for this recently, like within the last year or so, because he was giving insider sources and betting on his own games. Like,
wow.
So here's a question. If Tom Brady, let's say Tom Brady, he already said he won't do this, so I'm going to just say he doesn't. He retires in the next couple of years, becomes a head coach of an NFL team, say the Dolphins or the 49ers. Let's say it doesn't work. He goes back home and coaches his team.
Coach is Jimmy.
Coaches Jimmy. That's a great thing.
Oh, jeez.
And he bets on the games. Does Tom Brady make it into the NFL Hall of Fame?
That's where he's gonna have a lot of controversial opinions. People saying that because he knows he shouldn't be betting on games, but that's the thing.
But
like,
does he
he's
make
not
it in?
following the rules?
He's the greatest player ever.
Betting doesn't take away from the fact that he still made his accomplishments.
As a player. I'm
Yeah.
trying to make the point as a player.
Yeah, as a player, it doesn't change
Yeah.
that fact, whether you're betting or not.
He makes it in, but right next to his name is a little asterisk that says no. That
Deflate.
so it's a Tom Brady asterisk, and it
And he
says
still won.
and then it says kisses his son.
Loves his son. I just think like he was one of the greatest baseball players I've ever seen. And
My thing is like how many like Brady is the greatest NFL player. That's what people say. But when it comes to like Pete Rose, like would you say Pete Rose is the greatest baseball player ever?
baseball is a different sport, though.
But no, that's what I'm saying. Like, is he still the greatest? Like,
But there's a lot of people in the Baseball Hall of Fame that are not the greatest players.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Ever.
But it's like,
But-
but if he's talking about like that when it comes to either gambling or whatever, like tarnish, kind of like doing something sketchy to like. So now it becomes a question like literally if Michael Jordan said, "Oh, I bet on games," at that point people probably let him in the Hall of Fame and stuff like that because he was that good of a player. First of all, like championships too. Like I don't know how many World Series Pete Rose won.
He won 3 World Series. He was an MVP, 17 All-Star,
like
2-time Gold
Yeah.
Glove. He was a World Series MVP, Rookie of the Year, Silver Slugger, 3-time batting title.
That's what I was saying. Like it's no.
I mean, I didn't know his stats off the top of my
Great
head.
gambler.
great
Yeah,
gambler.
I mean, I'll say like I didn't know his stats off the top of my head when it comes to talking this debate, but after seeing all that stuff, I mean, yeah, it makes a strong
on
case.
base percentage, he had a .375, slugging percentage 409.
Looks like your softball stats.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Over 1,000, like 1,300 RBIs.
Not to mention the 4,256 hits.
Oh, what's going on here? We got an email.
You got mail.
He batting average, it was 303. He batted 303 for his career. I want to see his split. Like how.
Yeah.
But I think you made your
Rose-
point though. The point is like he still has the stats to make it.
Yeah,
And
he still has the
influential
stats,
enough.
yeah.
And I agree. If you're playing, you shouldn't be like betting.
Yeah.
First of all, like that's a conflict of interest thing, and that's
Yeah.
wrong. Like I get that.
And that's like a big no-no,
But-
especially in the games of like all
yeah.
sports.
I think us
But
as a
it's all-
podcast too are just so pro steroids and gambling. Put them in.
See what happens when we're in quarantine for a long time without sports.
Right? But no, like it's also too if you are on a team where the players are okay with you doing that, because like I doubt other players didn't know.
No way.
And that's what I'm saying. Like if you know and you don't report it, like even though you're friends with this guy or whatever, like it's still wrong to be doing that in that league in any of these sports. So it's also up to the teams too to be kind of self-policing on that and be like, look, don't be doing that.
But
What's our next topic?
yeah, that's our next topic.
Well, we do
You
have
wanna get out of here.
we do have people's topics.
But
down
or
the-
like
Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Jose Altuve. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
No.
If you didn't know this, the cheating scandal.
But I didn't know the cheating scandal.
Yeah,
I mean, it's too early to tell in his career right now.
right. He's kind of young, but,
But like, if it was
potential.
also, I mean, if he gets to 3,000 hits, and I didn't know the whole like sign stealing, I would
Yeah.
say yes. But then now, once the thing pops up, how many of those are like actual because of what he knew? Because it's different when you're on steroids or whatever. Like Jose Altuve's stats would directly correlate to
Right.
Yeah.
he knew what pitch was coming. So if he didn't, how he handled it, how would that Like, look at the road numbers. Like, just the road. Like, if you give me Altuve splits during those time when he was home and when he was on the road, like, that's how you kind of go in about it. And that's what I would say. Altuve wouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
Now, with that, I would agree because in his playing career, it directly affected his playing career. Pete Rose did not affect his playing career. But I see what you're saying, like how it attaches to the game itself. Then I can see your point. But I look at it as, is he first going in as a player or a coach? Because if he's going in as a coach, then
I mean, would you put? Because the thing is too, it's like for under the Hall of Fame plaques, it says player for the Cincinnati Reds this year to this year, but then they say coach, whatever team underneath. Do you just not put him as a coach?
Maybe leave
player?
out coach.
I wouldn't put it in because I don't think it really affects. I wouldn't put.
But I'm not saying that's like.
I'm not putting him in for his playing abilities. I just looked this up because I thought it was interesting. Lifetime average for Pete Rose, he hit 297 from the right side, 304 from the left. So he's better on the left side, and he hit 303 in general.
Not a bad career.
No. He said, it was funny. He once said, he's like, how crazy is it? Baseball is the only career that you can fail 7 times out of 10 and be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Well, in most cases, Pete Rose is not a Hall of Famer, but you can fail 7 out of 10 times and you're still.
Well, I love how he's sounding baseball saying 4,200 hits, 0 steroids.
0 steroids.
That's funny.
How many bets though?
How many bets?
Yeah, that he placed. That was like the joke. Like,
how many bets?
I
was like, how many?
That went over all
everyone's head.
It's early,
man.
Huh?
Yeah, it's
1:35
p.m.
That's early for quarantine, man.
Jeez, I've been up since like 7.
So we got. Are you a yes for Pete Rose or no?
We love gambling.
Hell yeah. We're big gamblers on this podcast, too. We're big steroids and gamblers over here. So we got 3 yeses for Pete Rose and 1 no from Mr. Dave Griffin.
I think I'm gonna start changing my opinion though. To be honest, they have to leave the coach aspect out of it though.
I agree.
Right. I would
if you leave that and just solely as a player, I would say yes.
Yeah, right. I agree. And like make it note that like I said with that plaque, like make it note like he's in here because of as a player and leave out the coach.
Add an asterisk saying.
And
no,
I agree.
But that'll be a nice little inside information, like one of those trivia questions. Oh, like. Pete Rose was a Hall of Famer, or what team did he manage? And people are like, wait, he's a manager? Like,
right.
That's a good Thursday night at a bar trivia question right there.
Oh, Charlie Horse for Steve-O.